I'm Bethany and I use she, her pronouns.
My name is Ruben and I use he, him pronouns.
My name's Alex and my pronouns are they, them.
If I had to sum it up, I'd say sweet. I usually wear a lot of skirts. I really like layering and I normally wear pastels, so that's lots of colour.
I would describe my style as a meeting point of quite hyper-masculine and quite effeminate but also quite queer. A little bit streetwear crossed with a little bit of glam sometimes, going into quite a lot of nightlife and rave type of fashion.
I describe my style as gender fluid. I feel like I have a lot of pieces that are masculine and I also have a lot of pieces that are feminine. I wear dresses, I also wear jeans and t-shirts and stuff like that.
It's a bit of a long name. I study drama, applied theatre and education.
So I study product and furniture design.
I'm studying art direction. I'm on my final third year.
Probably that I think I seem quite easy to be walked over. I seem quite submissive and a bit more timid when actually I can be quite loud and yeah, I'm not as timid as I might seem based on how I dress.
I think that people don't take my intellectuality as seriously. It surprises people when I have certain interests that aren't super feminine. Things like I enjoy going to the gym or I like playing video games. They're often quite surprised by that, even though I don't think that really has anything to do with anything.
I think if anything, as a non-binary person, I feel like when I'm wearing dresses and stuff like that, for some reason, because I'm not androgynous enough or I'm non-binary or gender ambiguous enough, people think that I'm transitioning for some reason. Or they think that I'm cross-dressing sometimes, usually older men. I feel like my style is just an expression of who I am, and that's sometimes masculine, sometimes feminine, but always non-binary.
I think maybe I get put in a box because of how I dress. I think people assume that I need to dress this way forever. If I ever wear something black or a little bit I don't know other words to describe it apart from a bit sexier or something a bit more fancy, people really make a big deal out of it, so that kind of makes me a bit uncomfortable. I think they think that because I dress quite dainty most of the time, it's kind of how I have to act and dress all the time.
I think it's normally just with anything when I'm with straight guys and it's anything kind of competitive. A lot of the times they won't see me as serious competition. I live with all straight guys in my house and I'm way better than them at most video games, and they always seem to be a little bit surprised or a little bit sorry when I beat them, but it's you know that I'm better than you at this. You should know this by now.
I think a lot of times people prefer me to conform, and they think that the way I dress is sort of performative or wants to call attention. And it's not that. Sometimes I just want to feel good and look good. It's not about attention and stuff like that. We wouldn't say the same thing about a man wearing a very basic look because that's what we're used to. But when we see something that we're not used to, all of a sudden that's when it starts to become a problem. And if I had to think of any anecdotes, definitely going out with a dress is an experience. A lot of old men love to say I'm either beautiful or love to cuss me out. And then it's interesting that when I wear more normal clothes, and what I mean by normal, I mean more heteronormative clothing, all of that is gone, but I'm exactly the same person.
This is also kind of another anecdote to go into that. I really like playing Trivial Pursuit. It's a really fun game, and I think normally people are a bit gutted to have me on their team because they think that I won't be able to answer any of the general knowledge questions, I'm a little bit away with the fairies and I don't know what's going on, and I think I get kind of underestimated of my knowledge, and even in games like that aren't always about academics, it's about general knowledge and stuff. I think I get underestimated there.
I really sadly do think that if you largely in society, if you dress more femininely or you embrace your feminine side, you are seen as less capable and you're taken a bit less seriously, I think, especially in a professional context or an academic context. And I think that a lot of people can know femininity with a lack of strength. And I just think that I really just don't see that, because to embrace femininity in a society that values masculinity over femininity, that takes a lot of power and a lot of strength and a lot of courage. And a lot of people, especially guys who are really afraid to be feminine, I don't think that they understand how much it takes from you to exude that into the world.
I think sometimes because there's this sort of subtext of like feminine, cute, or like being a joke, I think that's the thing. Like people don't respect other expressions of clothing. So when you're wearing, especially when you're wearing feminine clothing, they think that your identity and your existence is a joke. And a lot of times there's this sort of subtext of like, oh well they're wearing a dress, or they're wearing this, so they're not taking things seriously. But why are we having a conversation about feminine pieces of clothing being seen as funny or as not appropriate or not valid, when we would never talk about someone just wearing jeans and a t-shirt as funny, but someone wearing a dress, especially someone wearing a dress that's not a woman, oh, they're a little bit too much, or they're this, they're that. And I think it's an interesting conversation to have, and I think it's a thing that we need to think about and maybe sort of broaden our horizons on what we understand as femininity and sort of social acceptability.
I really enjoy feeling cute, like feeling cutesy. It makes me feel really happy. I like having bows in my hair. I feel like it makes me happy, and I think it makes my friends happy to see like bright colours and nice frills and things like that. I think it's just a nice energy to have, and like expressing my femininity that kind of way, in like a cute way. It just makes me happy. Yeah.
It makes me feel different things at different times. I've had a difficult relationship with it at points. I have worked really, really hard to reduce being feminine. I've worked really, really hard to seem as masculine or straight acting as possible. But those things maybe felt nice in the moment to impress certain people, but I realised that I didn't care about them and they're not that important to me. I definitely still find points when it makes me feel somewhat insecure, or I feel somewhat unsafe if I'm presenting myself in a certain way. But now I feel much more empowered by it. And whereas before I might catch myself and I'd be like, oh my god, what am I doing? But now I feel much more like, this is good, you're just being authentic with yourself.
I think that when I dress femininely, I don't think I ever dress purely femininely, because biologically I have sort of physical aspects that are more masculine. So I think I'll never look completely feminine, or I'll never look completely masculine, but I like that in-between spot. I like working with my like body positivity and my curves and my body to sort of accentuate different parts of it, you know? Like clothing for women a lot of times is designed to have certain feminine aspects to it. And I really like having that ability of dipping in and out of feminine, empowering vision.
It's okay to be cute and nothing but cute. You don't have to live up to anyone's visions of femininity. You can be your own feminine person.
Honestly, like, it sounds kind of like cliche, but it's like, don't listen to other people. Just literally like do your thing. If you want to be feminine, and if you don't want to be feminine, don't be feminine, but make sure that you are doing that based on what you actually want and not what you feel like you should want.
If anything, I'd say I'm gonna be very realistic. Wearing dresses and wearing stuff is a choice, and it's a risk that we take as queer people, or that we take as honestly anyone that's like doesn't wear a dress and it's not like a woman by birth, you know what I mean? And I think what we need to start understanding is like, I'm not saying anyone not to wear it, like wear it, but be aware of the consequences that come with it. And when those consequences happen to you, choose if you want to risk it, and if you want to live a life where you're like experiencing yourself or safety. Those are two very valid choices, but I think it's important to wear what you feel comfortable with, but also understand that the world might not be ready for that.
Right, thank you.